is that slipway to take the boarding boat out to its modern Arran-class lifeboat. It's a small symbol of the continuity and tradition in a service that's changed dramatically in recent years with the introduction of a new fast fleet.
They were very experienced. They'd been through everything time after time after time. On the new boat, even the fishermen have a different boat. It's not the sort of boat they're used to. So therefore everybody goes off. Everybody has to learn the systems of work for this particular boat. So it is much more involved.
The main difference is the speed, and we can get the job so much faster.
Because we get there so fast, quite often, the situation doesn't develop into a dangerous situation.
It handles so well, very good for close-in work, as well as towing. It proves itself the other week, we're turning a cobble with 11 people on board.
The senior helmsman described the recent incident where the Atlantic 75 proved her effectiveness.
The Coast Guard called up and asked us to go to this yacht. It was only a matter of 5 or 10 minutes before you were alongside of him. This yacht had come from Holland and he'd lost his mast. And when his mast come down, he brought all his rigging, all his side rails and everything down. And when we got to him, he was just going round and round in circles. I went aboard myself, I handed the Atlantic over to somebody else, and I brought the yacht into Brilliant Harbour.
The Atlantic 75 is a rigid inflatable boat with a top speed of 34 knots, making her the fastest boat in the RNLI fleet. Developed from the highly successful Atlantic 21, she's designed principally for rescues close to the shore and can operate in all but the very worst conditions. Her launch and recovery from the shore are achieved quickly with a tractor and trailer capable of operating in several feet of water. The speed of this operation is vital to the effectiveness of the Atlantic. Each element is designed to provide the fastest response possible to an emergency. It's a different world from the tradition of the old 8-knot double-ended lifeboats. The last of these was replaced at Aldborough on a cold, murky day in November 1993. James Cable, a Rother class, was built in 1982. She is succeeded by the modern Mersey class, which has a top speed of 16 knots, twice as fast as the old Rothers and Oakleys. For the benefit of the frozen enthusiasts, the RNLI's very last double-ended lifeboat made a nostalgic run past the beach before disappearing from our shores forever. The arrival of the new Mersey completed the last piece of the jigsaw in the development of an all-fast fleet by the RNLI. But for the crews who served on the old boats, the memories remain.
Lifeboat calling, lifeboat calling.
There's no real way to hide it, just keep it on there. We were sad to see it go, but we are far better enough now. We've actually had our hair freezing on deck in the airplane out the water. And our winds tend to slush and we've not enough more 40, 50 hours. The old conventional type of boat that people used to see around the coast was
lifeboat we have at Bridlington has made a tremendous amount of difference. Not only with the speed, which is double what we had with an 8-knot conventional lifeboat, but it also enables us to actually take the equipment to sea that we could never keep salt and water out of before, and that is a vast improvement on the search and rescue that we do from time to time. I would say the difference between the two is like the Spitfire and Concorde.
The first time we ever used the Mersey on an actual emergency was only a few days after we brought her back from pool after a training week.
A windsurfer was in trouble and the lifeboat needed to get to him fast.
We scrambled the boat and launched. We had the windsurfer aboard, brought him back to the beach, put him in an ambulance, and he was taken off to hospital to be checked for the cold. And we managed that all in 22 minutes. If it had been the old Oakley, we'd gone in it within 5 minutes, more like 2 hours.
To launch from a beach, the Mersey needs a shallow draft and fully protected propellers. But at the same time, she's built to be stable and strong enough to operate in storm force conditions. The Tyne class is launched principally from a slipway. Capable of 17 knots, she too is an all-weather boat. For daytime rescues close to the shore, the D-class can provide a quick response. Her small size and manoeuvrability make her extremely effective for recovering anyone unfortunate enough to be stranded on a rocky and dangerous shoreline. Where a convenient harbour or sheltered mooring is available, the lifeboat will be kept afloat. The 18-knot Arran is designed for this purpose and is often required to work in very heavy seas. Like all modern lifeboats, she is also sometimes called upon to operate close to the shore and has had the chance to prove her capabilities in some dramatic rescues. But the largest and fastest addition to the all-weather fleet is the Seven, here overtaking an Arran class at 25 knots. The first production boat entering service is at Stornoway in the Hebrides, and along with her equally fast new sister ship, the Trent, she'll eventually replace the Arran. Speed to the casualty is always important, but with the ever-growing number of calls, prevention is as important as cure. The RNLI is working with others to minimise accidents at sea. Capsize is always a risk for lifeboats in the appalling conditions they sometimes face. Every lifeboat must pass the ultimate self-righting test before entering service. The 7 class, in spite of her size, is no exception. By the year 2000, the RNLI is committed to increasing the response speed to rescues by 33%. Speed and reliability are essential for lifeboats, but it makes them expensive. Each 7-class lifeboat costs £1.3 million to build, and her sister ship, the Trent, not much less, at £1 million. Although both the British and Irish governments rely on the RNLI as an essential arm of the sea rescue services, the RNLI receives no state funding. It depends entirely on voluntary contributions to run the lifeboat service. No lifeboat could be built, nor even any rescue made, without the dedication of the volunteer fundraisers who operate nationwide to secure the maintenance of the RNLI rescue service. It's a tradition which dates back to 1824, when Sir William Hillary founded a national shipwreck service based on voluntary contributions. Today, only the technology has changed. Lifeboat crews still work on a voluntary basis, apart from a full-time mechanic based at all-weather stations. The first true lifeboat was known as the Original and served for 40 years at South Shields. By the turn of the century, there were over 300 lifeboats, either pulling or pulling and sailing. With the development of diesel and petrol engines, the lifeboat crews could respond faster to the call-out. Today, the objectives of safety and speed remain the same for the skilled teams who designed the latest lifeboats at the RNLI headquarters in Poole. In seas like this, crew members must guard against being washed overboard. If they are, they might have to rely on a different form of technology.
This thing I'm wearing is the first life jacket devised for a lifeboat crew. It was brought in by Admiral Ross in the mid-1800s. It did save the life of a chap called Freeman when the Whitby lifeboat turned over. And it was in use up to about the turn of the century when a K-Pock life jacket was brought in, and that continued up to the mid-1960s when a new one was brought in. The disadvantage with this, of course, it doesn't support the neck. Modern life jackets, the most important part of a life jacket is that it supports a man's neck if he's unconscious. The new life jacket I'm wearing is attached to the oilskin jacket. The big difference being that it doesn't have any inherent buoyancy. So when a crewman falls in, it partly inflates automatically. If that's not sufficient, he then pulls a lever which fully inflates it. And as I mentioned earlier, the most important thing is that the neck is supported if the man is unconscious. It also has a lifeline here which will clip on. It can be actually hoisted by a helicopter a full man's weight.
The small light on a life jacket saved the life of one crew member at Appledore recently when a rescue helicopter spotted him after he'd been swept into heavy seas at night. Lifeboat crews train regularly with the Coast Guard, RAF or Royal Navy search and rescue helicopters. Winching casualties off lifeboats in heavy seas is a skilled operation which has to be practiced frequently, but it can mean the difference between life and death for someone who needs to get to hospital fast. As well as the crews on the boats, there are dedicated shore teams, some of them waiting patiently for their opportunity to go on a call-out. Their commitment is vital to the service.
It has to be a part of your life. It's not just the going out on the boat. There's the boat checks to make sure everything is working. There is the commitment you make to the boat, which means that it's going to take up a lot of your life. And it's true to say, I think most crew members, when they go to a different town, if it has a lifeboat, they go and look at it. It's not just going out on the boat.
A big part of the task is to train the people, because obviously nowadays you don't have fishermen coming into the RNLI like it used to be. There's much more sophistication with the equipment, electronics, and it also involves quite a lot of teaching people seamanship, and that obviously takes years and years of practice. The younger elements who are single, it doesn't really matter, but to the married people, it is a time-consuming thing, because what you're doing is dedicating a great part of your life to helping others. And it's not just simply the people that go in the boat. It's all the training, the background work that's done at all levels. And it's a great strain at times on the family. But people, the wives, girlfriends, see what the end product is and are very happy to let their husbands and boyfriends carry on in this way.
That work is carried out at over 200 lifeboat stations around 7,000 miles of British and Irish coastline. Since the RNLI was launched in 1824, its lifeboats have saved 125,000 lives. Nowadays, lifeboats are called out more often than at any time in RNLI history. Well over 5,000 times a year, with at least 1,300 lives saved as a result. The vast improvement in technology developed by the RNLI has helped enormously in saving lives among the ever-increasing number of people who go to sea. But the technology is only as good as the crew. Some of their work is routine and much of it passes unnoticed, like just giving a tow to a broken-down pleasure craft. But they had to do bigger and more dangerous rescues too. In 1989, a Maltese cargo ship was stranded in a force 10 gale when her engines failed 7 miles off Swanage. Conditions that night were so bad that the crew had to abandon ship. The coxswain of the Yarmouth lifeboat made several attempts to take off the crew. A cargo net was hung over the stern and the lifeboat had to be driven against the ship's side. Survivors were taken off the ship with the help of a rescue helicopter, and the lifeboat crew returned home 18 hours after they'd received the call-out. Over a period of 8 days in November 1993, 2 Russian factory ships ran aground off the coast of Shetland. The second coxswain of the Lerwick lifeboat, William Clark, who was involved in both incidents, was awarded the RNLI Bronze Medal for his part in saving the lives of 37 men off one of the boats in treacherous conditions. The men and women of the lifeboat crews regard it as a job that has to be done, but one they know can have tragic consequences.
When the boat capsized, the Tilly Morrison, in 1952, and the bowman, Robert Redding, was drowned, and he lived just a street away from us, and the general feeling around the area, which at that time it was more like a village with the fishermen living all in the same area, was, well, difficult to describe.
This is Solomon Brown, the Penlee lifeboat, which was lost in 1981, attempting to rescue the crew of a stricken cargo vessel in storm-force conditions. All the crew members on the lifeboat perished. Similar incidents have occurred at other stations in the past, but thankfully lifeboat disasters are rare. But for any crew member, the experience of some form of tragedy is inevitable.
We had an incident where a good friend of ours of the whole station was drowned. We had to go and find him. We brought him back, and that was a very, very bad job for everybody because he was a close friend actually of the station. 2 or 3 days later, we had to put it aside and carry on. It's no good. It had happened, so that was it. We had to carry on as normal.
Carrying on as normal means that at any time of the day or night, all lifeboat crew members have to be ready for the call-out. It's only a question of when.
Initially there's a big adrenaline buzz, you know, the pager goes off, you run or cycle or get out here as fast as you can. Everything stops for a service show, and people, the lads will come from all ends of the island once the pager goes off.
When you go out on a service, you don't know what to expect. Sometimes you don't quite know what you're going out to, and situations can change very rapidly, and so things you expect don't happen, and other things that you're not expecting do.
It's the old saying that it's harder for the families at home than it is for us out there. Because for us out there it's a job basically. For them it's not knowing what's going on.
Charts a course for the rescue. Another is keeping an eagle eye on the radar, hoping to locate the position of the boat in distress as quickly as possible. seas, it can be like searching for a needle in a haystack. Some recent rescues have been captured on camera. At St Mary's in September 1993, 2 yachts had anchored in Port Crescent Bay to shelter from a gale. But an unexpected shift in the wind direction meant that conditions in the bay began to deteriorate. The yachts were stranded and a decision was made to launch the lifeboat.
Due to the fact that the tide was falling and the wind and sea were making up quite a lot from the southeast, by the time we got into Port Crest, the conditions had worsened so much that the thing was beginning to look more than just an ordinary job. We escorted the Frenchman out, but the English yacht, the Backerel, was anchored in and he was broadside on.
The lifeboat crew tried to get several lines across to the yachtsmen, but as the waves grew stronger, the lines kept snapping. At times, the lifeboat was operating in 3 feet of water, and the coxswain had to turn out to sea again to prevent her from grounding. By now, the yachtsman was in very great danger.
The boat disappeared from sight from us. Several waves coming through. When it came back visible, the mast had gone, and the coxswain realised straight away that there was no more messing about trying to pull the boat out. We'd get the man off and away. The coxswain made his approach, and as he was coming in, the 2 boats seemed to come, obviously came close enough together for the lad Roger on the boat to think this is my time to leave.
At the crucial moment when the 2 boats were level in the water, he made a leap for the bow of the lifeboat. The crew ran to his aid and managed to pull him aboard. Any later, and his fate would have been very different.
We turned away to start to come back, and I believe it was about 1 minute and 10 seconds from when we got Roger off the boat to the boat disappeared from sight completely, and that was the end of that one.
They were operating in very shallow water. I think we had a beachman that was looking like that boat should have never been there. But if it wasn't, of course, I'd be dead.
The coxswain, Barry Bennett, received an RNLI bronze medal. The crew received commendation. Heidi Bell was trapped in an air pocket under a trimaran when the boat capsized in a heavy swell.
There were sails and debris floating around, everything was turned upside down.
The lifeboat coxswain, Dave Kennett, decided to tow the boat to calmer waters with Heidi still underneath, so an effective rescue could be carried out.
I knew the lifeboat coxswain was actually taking a big risk, but for my benefit to get me out, and I knew it wasn't easy for him.
Heidi was under the boat for nearly 6 hours before divers finally managed to free her. A Coast Guard helicopter was standing by, and as she was winched up to safety, for Heidi, one clear image remained.
Silhouette of a person near the wheelhouse, and I knew that was the guy who saved my life. And I totally saw that loads of time. And I just thought, thank you so much. Whoever you are, thank you.
In a similar incident to this one, 3 fishermen had to swim for their lives to a small island off Oban in Scotland when their fishing boats sank at night. After 24 hours, they were spotted by the lifeboat crew. One survivor describes his feelings on seeing the approaching lifeboat.
It's kind of just pure elation, pure excitement then, you know. I don't know if we went in shock then, but we kind of got up and started jumping about.